Mandela led his country's transformation to a multiracial democracy, but his dreams for a better economy have not been fulfilled. Unemployment tops 20%. Mark Phillips went to Alexandra, where a young Nelson Mandela began his battle against apartheid.
Alexandra in Mandela's time was a desperately overcrowded place to which people migrated in droves looking for work. It still is. They lived in shacks beside open sewers. They still do. Life was hard, often short, and prospects grim. They still are. Ask Linda Twala, who's been fighting to improve conditions here for decades.
This is not what we fought for. Yeah, we thought by now we're going to be living in a habitable place, in a beautiful Alex.
If the test of the democratic South Africa is what it has done for those at the bottom, Alexandra does not give those now running the country high marks.
I would say they don't know our sufferings.
They have forgotten you? They don't care about you? I mean,
I wouldn't say they've forgotten us, but something is wrong somewhere.
Gladys Mtatwa, she's 77 now. She was a teenager when Nelson Mandela rented this room from her father.
Now it's worse.
It's worse?
Yes, it's worse now.
How is it worse?
That too many people here.
It's too crowded.
Crowded. And crime is too much.
Too much crime.
If you take up arms, you don't expect to survive.
Dennis Goldberg, who was part of the resistance movement Nelson Mandela ran from this farm and who served 22 years in prison himself, sees Alexandra's problems differently. It'll take a lot longer than 2 decades, he says, to right apartheid's wrongs.
I'm not saying we don't have problems. I'm not saying we haven't got a hell of a lot to do. Huge amount. Mega. But we've laid the basis.
The basics of a decent life are what they're still waiting for in Alexandra. In his memoirs, Nelson Mandela described Alexandra as a slum. Living testimony, he said, to the neglect of the authorities. Well, 70 years later, the authorities have changed, but the neglect is still here. In the old days, Alexandra was called the Dark City because it had no electricity, no lights. It's not that much brighter now. Mark Phillips, CBS News, Alexandra.